Hey, what's up, guys? It is Dan from FightWave, and today I'm joined by somebody I'm very excited to speak with. If you know anything about me, you know I love putting people onto prospects, and today's guest is, in my opinion, one of the best prospects, not just a prospect in the States, not just a prospect that represents Southeast Asia, but in my opinion, one of the best prospects at all of 125 right now. He's got an unreal resume of knockout finishes. He's got some of the most diverse finishes in all of the regional scene. He's only 23 years of age, but when you look at some of his fights and the results he's got a spinning back fist and ground and pound knockout. He's got a head kick knockout. He's got a great knee bar submission. You talk about a guy who has talent coming up. This guy is everything. He's personality, charisma. He's got the skills. And today I'm joined by none other than Vietnam's Antoine Ho. How we doing today, Antoine?
That was quite an intro. Thank you so much.
I had to list all the accolades, man. I just had to because it's not every day you get a 23-year-old fighter coming out of Southeast Asia who puts on performances like you do. Talk to me about how you're feeling coming off a pretty active 2023. Three fights this year, staying active to say the least. How's everything been?
Everything's been great. Other than the fights, I have been training myself to get better in the gym, just preparing for the next one because, as you know, a lot of fighters they just fight, 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 fight. They take a lot of fights, but they don't really get better in between the fights. And right now, I'm still pretty young, and I feel like time is still on my side. So, my plan is I want to be a UFC champion one day. So I have to get better now before I jump into the pool. And I think I've done a lot of improvement outside already.
No, yeah, definitely. And I feel like you mentioned, taking the right approaches to your career. Only 23 years of age, but you've got over 12 fights. 7-0 undefeated as an amateur and 5-0 undefeated as a pro right now. Talk about experience, yet, fighting so much in such a short amount of time. I feel like you mentioned, taking really the time to sharpen the tools, get the weapons better, and especially where you train, I feel like it's kind of impossible not to get better. You talk about the MMA lab. You look at the likes of the people who train there: Sean O'Malley, Benson Henderson, Mario Batista, Kyler Phillips, just to name a few. I feel like that gym is blossoming with young talent coming in and out of that gym. A lot of great lighter weight fighters. Talk to me a little bit about the experience training at the lab and just being able to surround yourself with such top tier talent and being able to pick their brains.
Yeah, I'm really grateful to be able to train over at the lab and under John Crouch. And I love it, man. Like everyone there is just so good and it forces you to get better yourself. Like if you come in and do something great and you catch some people with some submissions, or if you catch something that they've never seen before, the next week everyone has already picked it up and they found the counter for it. And so that forces me to even get better and learn how to counter their counters. So in return, everyone is getting better. And right now we have a huge pool of talents that are coming up. And yeah, Sean O'Malley trains there, Mario Bautista trains there. And all those guys, man, I look up to all those guys and I try to learn as much as I can.
Definitely. And just in terms of soaking it all in, I feel like you're standing on some pretty tall shoulders right now in terms of great fighters to look up to, not just in Arizona. We're at the MMA lab where you train. You got head coach John Crouch, who's a great person in and of himself, a great influence and ambassador for this sport on the coaching front, but also in that Southeast Asian mixed martial arts. You look at some of the veterans who have really put on, people who you can look up to for inspiration, like Tan Lei, Onglan Song, and then you got, right now, another young, amazing fighter out of Myanmar, Joshua Van. I feel like right now there's a lot of inspiration to be had around everything, surrounding you, Antoine, because you look at the Arizona scene, it's blossoming with Fight Ready and the MMA lab. It's been phenomenal to see how far those two gyms have come. And then also Southeast Asian mixed martial arts, I think, has kind of gone under the radar. It's not getting the love that it deserves, but I feel like it really is going to be poised for a massive 2024. So talk to me a little bit about having so many great influences and also just being an ambassador for Southeast Asian mixed martial arts, being out of Vietnam, representing Vietnam. What does it mean to you?
Yeah, it means a lot to me that I'm able to bring my skill sets and represent Vietnam and just Southeast Asia as well. And I just love it, man. Like I just love martial arts ever since I was a kid. I just never found anything that I like doing. And when I found martial arts, I was like, I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life. And that's has been ever since. And I love competing as well. And my coach always tells me, like, it doesn't matter how good you are. If no one knows how good you are, then that doesn't really matters. So I take that into consideration, and I take it personally to like put myself out there and put on these spectacular performances.
I feel like spectacular performances is just a way to describe Southeast Asian mixed martial arts. You know, you look at Tan Lei and his last performance against Ilya Freemanov, went in there and got an unbelievable leg lock submission. You look at, you know, Joshua Van, one of the best fights of the year against Kevin Borjas. You look at yourself with just an unreal resume of finishes under your belt. You know, what's it been like for you to be an ambassador for Vietnam, put on, and have people maybe reach out to you even and say, you know, hey, you're inspiring me at only 23 years of age, holding that kind of influence, being able to uplift a generation of kids coming up.
Yeah, I love it, man. I'm just here to enjoy the journey. I'm here to take myself as far as I can as a person, as a martial artist, and that's the only thing I'm looking to do.
No, yeah, definitely. And in terms of just to backpedal a little bit, you know, we talk about experience. You know, you've stayed pretty active, and you've done something I really like with young fighters specifically, which is you've taken the time, like you said, to figure things out, iron out the patches, and you've taken a heaps of amateur bouts. I feel like that's something that nowadays I feel like it goes under the radar. It's underappreciated when you see young fighters that just kind of take maybe one or two amateur fights and then rush into the pro scene, whereas you really took the time to find your footing and be able to kind of find your style. And we saw that because, you know, I feel like without the amateur experience, you wouldn't be able to find these amazing openings for the finishes, whereas getting that extra amateur experience, finding your timing, finding your rhythm in the cage has really helped you and paid dividends towards, you know, becoming this fighter that everyone's come to know. That, you know, getting voted finish of the year for LFA, getting voted with all these amazing accolades by the fans. Talk to me a little bit about, you know, just getting the amount of experience that you have in such a short amount of time, and how the amateurs maybe helped you and molded you into the fighter you are now.
Yeah, I've always had a special talent for fighting, and when I first found martial arts, it was just instincts, you know. Like I just knew I was just so good at it. But also the people around me, the coaches around me, um, gave me a lot of good advices on, you know, taking my time and try not to rush things and just getting better in between the fights. And I'm just so grateful for those guys that has crossed paths with me. And I feel like it does took a lot of effort to just, you know, fight on the local scenes and not really get paid, and you know, which is which is okay for me because I feel like I was at the age where I'm still, you know, like I still have my parents providing for me and I still have some sponsors helping me, and so it's a lot easier for me to just take my time and just do it the right way. But I'm looking forward to going into the UFC this year, and that's my next goal.
No, yeah, definitely. And to talk about the UFC right now, actually, that's my next point. Is, you know, you look at the flyweight division right now; it's the best it's ever looked. You know, there's young talent all across the UFC at 125 and 135. I feel like there's like five or six guys in each division you can get excited about. Talk to me a little bit about, you know, inserting yourself in this flyweight picture right now. How do you feel you kind of stack up against some of these guys? Because I feel like, you know, in terms of divisions that maybe don't give the most leniency, the lighter divisions are probably those divisions where you have to be flawless, you have to be perfect. You know, talk to me a little bit about the preparation that you've been taking to get ready for that UFC jump, and how you maybe foresee yourself going against some of these guys. Do you feel like there's a lot of excitement to be put on the table, or is it just, you know, going in there and being able to find your footing more importantly?
For me, I feel like the key for me is just to get better in between the fights and just get better overall before I get in there. Because I feel like, you know, like it's not gonna get any easier. Every fight I win, I just fight tougher and more experienced opponents. So the key for me is I just gotta get better by myself and just make sure that my striking, my grappling, and my all overall just get better before I get in there. And I feel like I could handle myself pretty well with a lot of fighters in the UFC right now, and I'm super excited.
No, yeah, definitely. And I guess I gotta ask this just because I feel like for me, you know, I think it's probably the one thing I want to ask you more importantly. If you had to pinpoint a finish of yours that stood out above all the others, what would be your favorite finish right now in terms of story surrounding the finish and just the execution of it? What's your favorite finish that you've had right now?
I would say my last fight. A lot of people did don't know like the story going up to it, but it was really stressful for me. And the week, the fight week, I had already packed all of my stuff, my mouthpiece, and my just like all of my gears, and I was getting ready to go over to Oklahoma. And when I get there, I couldn't find my mouthpiece. And after the weigh-in, the day of the fight, I did a warm-up and everything, and then we go up to the hotel to get everything ready, get my fight shorts, my banners, and all of that. And I still couldn't find my mouthpiece. So that was like super stressful for me. And luckily, my management team figured it out, and they got me a molded mouthpiece so that I'm able to fight that night. Also, it's funny because like I usually make my own food after weigh-ins, and so I can just like feed myself good food, like uh, and I wasn't doing that this time. We just went down to the restaurant, and I had ordered some eggs and some bacon and some sausages, and I ordered 2 plates, and by the time I was getting ready to warm up, I was jumping ropes for like a couple minutes, and all the food started to come up, and so I ran to the back and I threw up like 3 or 4 times before I got out there. So in the back, I was just like, super. I felt super grounded, but also like I just felt sick to my stomach. And we got up the stairs, and behind the curtains, I literally put my mouthpiece on top of the bucket, the corners bucket. And I think we might have just like walked a little bit too fast or try to get up there a little bit too fast. But by the time I was behind the curtain about to walk out, they couldn't find my mouthpiece again. So yeah, so everyone was, bringing their lights out trying to look for the mouthpiece. And Pantoja, the UFC champion, was there. He was like commentating and stuff, and he's like looking at me, like dogging me, and I'm like, holy shit, I don't have my mouthpiece, And the guys working at the LFA were like, you gotta go, you gotta start walking, you gotta start walking. And right when they said that, my coach put the mouthpiece in my mouth, and I walked out there and I knocked that dude out. And that was a very proud moment for me.
No, yeah, definitely. You talk about everything that could go wrong in a fight, build up, and then you go out there and have it as the performance that you do. You're like nobody
Yeah.
knows the chaos behind the scenes, and then you go out there and you just make it look effortless. But glad everything went well. Now people know maybe the build up behind the anxiety and the chaos that goes behind the fights. But Antoine, I gotta say, man, in terms of young talent that I look forward to, your name is at the top of that list right now of guys that I'm keeping an eye on to make a UFC run because I always love seeing the young talent coming up. It makes this sport bigger and better. And we talk about the UFC aspirations, but more importantly, I want to ask you on a final note, just the goals for 2024 for Antoine Ho. Of course, you've got the goals to make it to the UFC and the big show, but what are some goals that you have personally? I mean, you're still very young in this sport. You're still very young in life, only 23 years of age. Is there any goals you have for 2024 to improve as not just as a fighter, but also to achieve for a personal satisfaction level?
Yes. Right now, my next goal would be winning my LFA fight by a finish, and I'm looking to knock this guy out or submit him. And after that, I want to get into the UFC. If not, I'll fight again for the LFA one more time and do the same thing. And personally, I just want next year for me, I just want to get into the UFC, or I might have one fight in the UFC, and so that I can just put my feet in the water and start making real money to start moving out of my parents' house and providing for myself financially, because like since I was a kid, I just been doing this, training two times a day, 3 times a day, 4 times a day, and I don't really work right now, so I'm just relying on that, and I'm just looking forward to be better financially too, and seeing that all of the effort that I have sacrificed and put in is paying off.
No, yeah, definitely. I feel like that's the thing that a lot of fighters kind of relate with is getting to that payoff point where, being in this sport for as long as you have been, you finally see the rewards, you finally see the paydays, you see the bonuses. That's what prize fighting is all about. And I feel like you're on the cusp of that very soon. So keep doing a great job, brother. I'm looking forward to watching your next fight because I know that there's not going to guarantee it, but high likelihood that there is a finish at the end of an Antoine Ho fight. So keep up the great work, man. And to the fans at home watching, if you do not know who Antoine Ho is, keep an eye on him in 2024. I guarantee you'll be remembering his name by the end of it. He's one of those guys that goes in there, puts on amazing performances, and in my opinion, one of the top 125ers in the country. Check him out on social media. To the fans at home watching, if you enjoyed this interview, do be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll be linking all of Antoine's social medias in the description down below. Putting on for Vietnamese MMA. Check him out. It's from me, Dan, from FightWave. Have a great day, guys.